Independent Rob, Sports Savvy Magazine. I'd like to welcome you guys. I'd like to welcome you guys. I'd like to welcome you guys. Now, before we get into the show, right, I want to invite you guys to check out Sports Savvy Magazine. We are on YouTube. We are on Instagram. We are on Facebook. We also have a website, Sports Savvy Magazine. Okay, so without further ado, let's get into the show. Recently, David Justin, right? Former baseball player. He was on All the Smoke podcast. That's the podcast that's created by Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson. Pretty good podcast. They have a lot of good interviews over there. So he was on there recently, right? At some point of the interview, he got into this whole spill where he was talking about Harry Berry. And for those who don't know, David Justin, former baseball player, he was married to Harry Berry back in the 90s. And what he said, right? What he said about Harry Berry and his whole marriage in general was, he was basically saying that he broke up with her because she didn't know how to cook. She didn't cook. She didn't clean. She wasn't a traditional wife. He went and said that, he went on and said that he was feeling that she wasn't motherly and felt that if she was to have kids with her, she wouldn't make a good mother. Okay. I hear all that, right? I hear all that. Matter of fact, let me let you guys hear this stuff with your own ears.
So I'm looking at my mom, and a wife at that time should cook, clean,
traditional.
And then I'm thinking, okay, if we have kids, is this the woman I want to have kids with and build a family with? And at that time, as a young guy, she don't cook, don't clean, don't really seem like motherly. And then we started having issues. I'll say this. We never had any issues about other women, other
you
men.
Guys heard it straight out the horse's mouth with your own ears, right? My thing with this whole thing is this. Even though this man has moved on, he's been remarried, he's had kids, he got 2, 3 kids, whatever he may have, even though all that's fine and dandy, for him to make a statement like this 20-something years later, it kind of feels like he feels some type of way that the marriage between these two didn't work out. Because there's a lot of things wrong with this statement, and we're going to get into it in 1 second, but there's a lot of things wrong with this statement he made. For one, you're saying she didn't cook, she didn't clean, she wasn't a traditional wife. Didn't you know that prior to marrying her? I mean, listen, I know Harry Berry as well as I know the Queen of England. But from the pictures, the videos, and things I've seen of her, nothing says that when I come home from dinner, she's gonna be sitting there saying, dinner's on the table, hon. It's nothing about her whole persona that makes me feel like that's what it would be. Not to mention, you dated her prior to marrying her. I mean, granted, it was a short dating period, maybe like 5 months, and they decided to get married. But within that 5 months, didn't you notice she never cooked you a meal? Didn't you notice she wasn't the one to get up after you guys have sex? The next morning she's jump up and start cooking and cleaning? Didn't you notice that thing? Are you saying that it took for you to marry her for you to notice these things? It is what it is, David. And you knew these things before you decided to marry her. Halle, you still chose to marry her. And you know why? Because she was one of the baddest chicks in Hollywood. I repeat that. Halle Berry was one of the baddest chicks in Hollywood at the time. She's still bad, but that was, we talking about 27 years ago. We talking about the 90s. So you married her because of that. So don't come in an interview 20-something years later talking about you divorced her because she don't cook and clean. Because you knew that before you married her. Now, let's get to the truth. Let's get to why he really divorced her, or she divorced him, however that went. Let's get to that. The real reason why that marriage didn't work out was because Halle Berry was cheating on him. I'm going to say 1996, 1997, Halle Berry did an interview in one of these sports publications. I can't remember. I know I read it, but I can't remember exactly which one it was. She did a publication in one of these, she did an interview in one of these sports publications. In the interview, she stated that David Justice accused her of infidelity. And she was so hurt. I'm so hurt. He chose me. He accused me of this. However, one of the reasons why he accused her of infidelity was because, based off what she said, they had a home together, and then she had a separate home out in California somewhere. So one day, he pops up to her home in California, quote unquote, unannounced. She didn't let the man in. And her line of reason for not letting him in was he was there unannounced. Now, this is her husband. So he has to call and make an appointment that, hey, I'll be at the house Friday. Let me in, I guess. However, not only she didn't let him in, she called the cops on him and got him removed from the property. And shortly after that was when they decided to get the divorce. However that worked out. But let's peel back the layers real quick, ladies and gentlemen. Let's peel back the layers. The only way that woman would leave that man outside the house, banging on that door, not open the door, and then go through the extreme of calling the cops would be if she was in there with another man. The only way he would pop up unannounced because he was trying to sneak up on her to catch something. Because other than that, I mean, basic conversation would be what? Hey, babe, I'll be at the house Saturday. You gonna be there? Yeah, no, whatever. But for him to pop up, using her words, unannounced, that really is because he wanted to catch her in there with another man, which ultimately he did. He may not have seen the guy. Guy might have been, in the closet, in the room, the door closed, whatever. But he was smart enough to know that there's something going on. This is why she won't let me in. And this is what made him get more angry and start banging harder and harder and harder. Because he knew something was going on. So now let's bring it back to topic. If you had to answer this question about a relationship that happened over 20-something years ago, if you had to answer it, the viewers would have respected it more if you would have just said, yo, she cheated on me, so I filed for divorce. It happens every day. You're not the first, you won't be the last. If you'd have just said that, the viewers would have had more respect for you. But don't sit there and tell us, because it's an insult to our intelligence when you say, oh, she didn't cook, she didn't clean, she wasn't like my mother. Because you knew all that before you got married. You knew that. I mean, does she look like Aunt Jemima? Of course not. You knew all that prior to the wedding. However, she had money, you had money. And in hindsight, when you got money and she got money, you figure, well, she don't cook, that's cool. We can order out. We can go out. We can even hire a maid. So you knew what time it was. So please, David, please don't insult our intelligence. Because some people, like myself, we have not forgotten. We have not forgotten what happened. Halle Berry was cheating on you. You know this. She know it. She said it out her own mouth without saying it out her own mouth. No, she didn't say, oh, I would cheat on her. She said, he accused me of infidelity, and it hurt me so bad. It hurt you. You must have got caught. That's what it must have hurt you about. But there's no way, Harry, no way in humanly possible that this man that you're married to, that you supposed to love, pops up the house, and he pops up at the house, and you do not allow him into the home. Apparently somebody else is there. I'm just using common sense. I'm not saying I knew somebody was there, but apparently somebody was there. Because give me another reason why she wouldn't let him in the house. Please, I dare anybody give me a reason why Halle Berry wouldn't have let that man in the house. There was another man there. And that had to be the final straw to the puzzle. Because before you get to that point where you just creeping up on your chick, there had to be some other incidents. It's called the buildup. So other things had to come first that build you to that point, to where you felt, I need to sneak up on this chick and see what's going on. We've all been there. Even Independent Rob been there. We've all been there. To where you're dealing with someone and you can feel there's something just not right. How we handle it is an individual thing. But it gets a little stalkish. But when you're in love, that's what happens. You feel the need to know. Point blank. You feel the need to know. You feel like, I must know. Is this chick stepping out on me? I must know. So I can make a decision right there. So before you get to that point of him sneaking up, there had to be other signs to tell this man that something wasn't right in that relationship. And it's fine, David. It's part of the game. You felt something wasn't right. So what did you do? You worked off your instincts and you popped up. The woman didn't let you in. The woman she even went as far as calling the cops on you. The cops made you leave. I'm assuming you filed for divorce after that. If not immediately after that, shortly after that. That's how the relationship ended. It ended because you knew the woman was cheating on you.